when I first got into bodybuilding. I just started because when I was 15, I was insecure and no attention from girls, and I was real scrawny. I was about 125 pounds. I decided, well, I could do something about this, so I started lifting. Bodybuilding was kind of the next natural step. I did my first show and I won, and after that, man, I was hooked. My name is Layne Norton, IFPA Pro Natural Bodybuilder. I'm 25 years old. I weigh 230 pounds in the off season and 195 pounds at contest. My arms measure 18 inches, my chest measures 48 inches, my thighs 27, my calves almost 17. My best attribute, it's my dedication. I'm going to be the next pro natural champion. How do you tell somebody to back off when your sport is based on extremes? The key is just educating people, because a lot of people don't even realize there is such a thing as natural bodybuilding. They just assume that bodybuilding goes hand in hand with steroids and that most bodybuilders are on steroids. Like the question of, do you get frustrated because, these guys in the untested shows get more publicity? And again, the answer is no, and I'm not really trying to make a statement. My thing is, I try not to let what others are doing influence my decisions, because I feel like you've got to make decisions for yourself. You got to be true to yourself, because if you let what others are doing influence what you do, you really have nothing left of yourself. And so I've never really felt any desire to take steroids. I'm not in it, to get famous. The only reason I'm so outspoken is because I'm not trying to make natural bodybuilding as big as untested bodybuilding. I don't think it will get there. But I'm just trying to get it a small piece of the pie. Supplements I take are, you get a lot of guys who open up their cabinet and it looks like Walgreens pharmacy moved in. I don't take as many as a lot of guys. My basic ones that I always take are, I take a multivitamin to make sure I'm getting all my needs met. I take a whey protein supplement. I also take branched chain amino acids. I take creatine monohydrate. It's one of the most effective, proven supplements out there as far as increasing strength and stamina. I also take fish oil for the cholesterol benefits and the blood lipid benefits. And the only other thing I take is a glucosamine supplement for my joints. A lot of natural guys, they have trouble because if you're not on steroids, it's easier to gain fat and it's harder to gain muscle. What I do in order to try and keep myself lean while still gaining muscle, essentially I will do a gaining phase where I eat an excess of calories for about 4 to 6 weeks, and during that time I'll typically put on about 3 to 4 pounds, and then I'll diet for 2 weeks where I'll typically lose about 2 pounds. And so essentially that helps keep me lean while still gaining muscle mass, because when you're bulking, hormones that burn fat like T3, leptin, and others, they're actually elevated when you're high on calories because your metabolic rate is elevated. So in order to take advantage of that, by swiftly transitioning into dieting, you're able to lose a lot of body fat rather quickly. When you diet for the short period of time, it increases your sensitivity to hormones like insulin and others, so you're more primed to build lean muscle when you start adding calories back in. So it's a good way to keep yourself lean while still gaining muscle. The key is just to realize that you're only going to put on about a net of 1 to 2 pounds every 6 weeks. And so for some people that's very hard for them to stick with something like that, because everybody wants to gain 10 pounds of shredded muscle in 1 month. But the real key is being consistent, and even if you're making slow progress, realizing it's still progress, and that in the end, if you just keep hitting little goals along the way, you're eventually going to make it to your ultimate goal. My first show I ever did, I won the teen and the men's tall novice division. And then my second show, I placed 4th. That show really woke me up as to what I needed to work on and what I needed to do in terms of stepping up and taking it to the next level. You know, I realized that these guys that are coming in are hungry, and if you do it anything halfway, they're gonna beat you. If you wanna win, you wanna beat these guys, you gotta look at the person next to you and say, am I working harder than that guy? Because if you're not, I can guarantee you're not gonna win.
Oh, one more.
It shouldn't be close. I should be good enough that I don't give the judges a reason to place me down. It should be, no, this guy's got it, we can put him to the side and start worrying about who's got second place. I graduated with my BS in biochemistry from Eckerd College, and for the past 2 3/4 of a year I've been working on my PhD here at University of Illinois. The typical question that's always been asked in terms of protein in the scientific community has been, well, what's the minimum level everybody needs? You know, with every other nutrient, they always, for example, carbohydrates, it's always, how much can we get away with? With fat, it's how much can we get away with? And nobody kind of asks the question, well, does consuming more protein have any benefit? And bodybuilders will tell you for years, since the 70s, they'll tell you it has benefit. But the scientific community is just starting to catch up with that. So I think I have kind of a unique insight in that I have the anecdotal side of bodybuilding, but trying to apply that in the lab. You know, can we show this scientifically? Some of the questions we're trying to answer are, what's the maximum level of protein in a meal that's beneficial for stimulating protein synthesis? And then how long does that duration last? How long does that response last? And how long does it take before you can stimulate it again? So we're trying to answer questions of protein size in a meal and protein frequency. How often should you take it in and how much should you eat at each specific time? My goal when I come in here every day is to make sure that if somebody beats me, it's not because they outworked me. You know, when it comes to competition, you know, when you step on stage with somebody, if you want to win, you've got to hate that person. And if that means that you've got to beat your friend or you've got to beat somebody you really like, you better not be scared to do that, because if you are, you're not going to win.
If you've ever watched Layne lift, his intensity is a little bit more outgoing than mine.
Come on!
He tends to get a little bit louder, a little bit more animated.
Sometimes we'll be in the weight room and I can see Nick checking out some girl's ass or something like that. And maybe it's just because I have a lovely fiance, but you know, if I'm in there to lift.
You'll see him marching through the gym, getting ready to go do a set and talking to himself and getting himself pumped up.
Let's roll!
He lifts hard, he just kind of keeps it in. I'm very vocal. People look at me like I'm some psycho sometimes.
I say to each their own, you know, if that's what he has to do to get himself through the day or through his workouts, then that's fine. It's not for me though.
You're calling me out on this, aren't you?
Gotta do what I gotta do.